Welcome back to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. Big Sky opener week is here as we play Weber State on Saturday at UC Davis Health Stadium. In this week's episode, we have an exclusive interview with Big Sky reporter Meghan Robinson, and special guest Brad Bispo joins Daniel Alfaro and myself to preview the game. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share the podcast on all the digital platforms. You can subscribe for early access for $5 a month on Spotify and have exclusive bonus episodes as well. Also, we have a few more Aggie Pride hats available for sale. So if you want to go to our website, AggiePridePodcast.com, you can get the beige one or Handful of Blues, letter left. I'll be at the game on Saturday if you want to do a pickup. All right. Enjoy our interviews with Meghan Robinson and our preview afterwards with Brad Bispo and Daniel Alfaro.
This episode is sponsored by Larison Real Estate Team, Bob and Jan Larison. You already know the name. They've been incredible supporters of UC Davis football, this podcast, and of course, they're Lance's parents, now cheering him on as he suits up for the New England Patriots. Off the field, Bob and Jan are one of the top real estate teams in the region, helping folks buy and sell across Idaho and Eastern Oregon. Whether it's a home, land, or investment property, they bring experience, hustle, and heart to every deal. So if you're looking to make a move or just want honest guidance, check out LarisonTeam.com or follow them on Instagram at Larison Real Estate. Huge thanks to Bob and Jan for backing Aggie Pride.
UC Davis football stands for tradition, teamwork, and having each other's back, especially when times get tough. That's why we're proud to partner with Bold, Paulsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson, a respected California law firm with over 55 years of experience helping families and businesses prepare for life's unexpected turns. Whether you're navigating estate planning, probate and trust matters, civil litigation, or elder law, the team at BPM&J offers clear, compassionate guidance through California's legal landscape. BPM&J is deeply rooted in Aggie Pride. The firm is led by Craig Judson, a double UC Davis alum, and the Sacramento office is supervised by his son, Scott Judson, former Aggie Pack MC and past president of the UC Davis Cal Aggie Alumni Association. 4 other attorneys in the firm are also proud Aggies. From starting a family to managing assets or honoring a loved one's legacy, Scott, Craig, and the BPM&J team are here to help with confidence, care, and compassion. Their services include estate planning, such as wills, trusts, and powers of attorney, incapacity and elder law planning, probate and trust administration and litigation, conservatorships and guardianships, and general civil litigation. With offices in Walnut Creek and Sacramento, BPM&J serves clients throughout California. Visit bpmnj.com to schedule a free consultation. And this season, listeners of the Aggie Pride podcast will receive an exclusive $500 discount on the preparation of a comprehensive estate plan. Just mention the podcast when you book your free consultation with either Scott or Craig. Please note this message does not constitute legal advice. For personalized guidance, contact BPM&J directly. The firm's attorneys are licensed only in California. Bold, Paulsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson. Powered by Aggie Pride.
Bank like a champion when you bank with University Credit Union. UCU is the official credit union of UC Davis and is committed to giving every UC Davis student, faculty, staff, and alum a financial advantage. From low loan rates and financial coaching to high savings rates, including our new Elite Certificate Special, University Credit Union helps you reach your financial goals. Visit ucu.org for details. Use promo code Aggie Pride Podcast to get started. University Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. Welcome back to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. It is Big Sky Conference opener week, which means we have a very special guest, the director of broadcast and digital media for the Big Sky Conference, Meghan Robinson. Meghan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I feel like my title sounds so important, and I feel like it's so like I'm just a conference reporter, but my title makes me sound so much more of a big deal.
It's all about titles. And
It is.
this day and age, like, we make up the best titles ever. So the fact that you have a very legitimate title, you own it because you got it.
I know.
And they don't
I
just
worked
give
hard
them
for
out.
this.
Yeah, and they don't just give them out. So
No.
Well, I thought of reaching out to you, I don't know, a month or so ago because I just respected the way that you've gone about your business. And I feel like you've done a good job representing yourself and the conference. And, the Big Sky Conference is not the SEC or the Big Ten, as you know. And yet I feel like the professionalism and like the interviewing that you've done we've just really enjoyed as a podcast and as a program from people I've talked to. So when I've shared with some folks that you were coming on this week, they're like, "Oh, that's awesome," and that makes a ton of sense. And so, um, we'll get into Big Sky Conference stuff and that sort of thing. But I am really interested. We're a mom and pop podcast compared to Big Sky Director over there, but I'm really interested in like where your story of athletics or sports or reporting like began. So this is something we do with all guests on the show. We normally ask them like, "Hey, what's your football origin story?" For folks who were players, but last week we even had our assistant AD on and she shared about kind of growing up in a football household and her dad watching the Broncos and calling Peyton Manning and John Elway dad and fun little tidbits like that. So I guess in passing you the mic, like what is your football or athletics like origin story? Like how did you get interested in doing what you do?
Yeah. So my story is very interesting, not interesting, unique. I'd say I don't be like, I'm so interesting, but my story is a unique one. I grew up right outside of Philadelphia. So naturally, I'm a huge New England Patriots fan. That is
Whoa.
a fact. Yes, I'm big Patriots fan. I'm going to turn this. This is the from the when they beat the Seahawks, this pennant from that.
Yeah.
My family's disowned me. Not really, but so big Patriots fan. College football is not that big in the Northeast. I mean,
Yeah.
there's Penn State, but I am a massive Penn State hater. So college football was not what I grew up with. It was NFL. I went to school in Boston, which only, helped to cultivate my love for the Patriots. I was a fan in 2005 when they beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I will say that. I've been a Brady fan for life.
Okay.
But I grew up playing sports, played soccer, field hockey, lacrosse in college, D3, Emerson in Boston. And I knew I wanted to be in broadcast journalism. I was a broadcast journalism major. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be a professional lacrosse player. So why not just cover sports for a living? And that's kind of how I got into sports journalism. Right after I graduated college, I started working as a production assistant at ESPN. And after, I think my second year there, I was there for 10 years. And my second year there, I started working on College GameDay doing features. And that is what really sparked my love of college football, getting to travel to all these campuses, meet these student athletes, just see, because I was like, I'm going to school in the city, I'm going to school in the Northeast. So then you're going to all these random schools like Alabama, Auburn, Ohio State, Michigan. I went to South Dakota State when they went to Brookings 6-7 years ago. So you're going to all these like small college towns, or they're big college towns, I guess, but small compared to the rest of the country, or major cities, what I'm used to, Boston, Philadelphia, New York. And that's kind of what sparked it. And then, by year eight at ESPN, I was like, I really want to try the on-air thing. So then in 2020, I left ESPN and I took a job at Oklahoma State, hence my Pistol Pete pennant right there. And I was a reporter producer for campus. And then I did some freelance with athletic stuff, got to cover Ollie Gordon during his Doak Walkers season, got to cover their run to the Big 12 championship. We don't talk about them now. They are not doing great. Haven't been the same since I left. Coincidence? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Interesting.
And then, yeah, I've been at the Big Sky for about a year and a half now. So that's kind of my abridged journey. Yeah.
Well, very interesting stuff. So much in there. I want to ask you about why you don't like Penn State and why you're not an Eagles fan, but I'm not gonna. You can bring it up later if you want. There's too
We'll try
many
not
other good. Yeah, there's too many other good things on there. So
Yeah.
I'm of course interested in College Game Day. This is
Yeah.
like my wife and I's tradition going back to no kids. Now that we have kids, it's chaos, but it's still on. We're
Yes.
all a little sad to miss Lee, of course, but Pat is jumping off diving boards and pools in Miami last week, and it's still a hella entertaining show. So, yeah, I guess when you look back on those 8 years, that's a long time for one.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I don't know, maybe some highs or lows or highlights of that, some stories that stick out. Like, we'll get to the transition to Oklahoma State, but
Yeah.
I don't know if anything comes to mind of just like what that experience was like. I'm really just asking as like a huge fan, like
Yeah. Are you talking
share
game day
some.
specifically or
I
ESPN or?
I think I'm interested in both. I would say more so game day, but just like that overall experience.
Yeah. So when I was a PA in 2012, so 2012, 2013, I was a PA on the show. And I only traveled with the show 2 weeks in 2012 because they had like their typical PA that would go and then they would rotate us through just to be like, hey, you're going to go on the road. So I was mostly back in Bristol. But the one show that I got to go to my first year working on it was on the USS San Diego. So I got to go on like the aircraft carrier in
Yeah.
San Diego, and one of the captains like toured me. He's like, come with me, Meg, you're coming with me. And he like gave us a whole tour of the ship. And like it was like you'll never have that experience again. I got to meet the Navy goat because, the Navy goat was on board. That was fun because I love a live animal mascot. And then, yeah, I got to go my next year. I worked on it for like half the season before I got promoted. So they pulled me off and put me on Sports Center, but I got to go to Michigan, and I'd never been to Ann Arbor. And like Michigan is such a cool campus. And that was the Michigan Notre Dame game, I believe, back in 2013. So that was just like, I'd never been to the big house. So getting to go see like Ann Arbor and all of that was so cool. Primarily so I like left the show for a couple of years, worked on NFL Countdown, came back in 2016, like halfway through the season. They're like, someone left, we want Meg back on our show doing features. So that's when I got like pulled back onto Game Day to produce features. And I didn't travel with the show then. I would travel the week up. So like I would leave on Monday or Tuesday, get back
For the
Tuesday or
campus,
Wednesday.
for the story.
Exactly. Do the story, and I'd be home watching the show on Saturday morning. So
Yeah.
sometimes I might be where the show was and I'm just doing a feature in advance, or I might be going to Alabama when the show's at Penn State this weekend. So it's like, oh, I might be
Yep.
doing a story on an Alabama player. They're going to Penn State. So I didn't get to like interact. I had met Lee Corso. I've met Reese Davis. I worked with Herbie. So I've gotten to like meet the analysts and Reese and everything, but the people I primarily worked with were like Gene Wojciechowski and Tom Rinaldi and Jen Latta. So that, as a storyteller and a feature person, like that was so cool to me.
Oh,
And
I
like
bet.
I was actually like just texting Rinaldi the other day. And I talked to Gino, I check in with him every couple of months. I still converse with Jen from time to time. And so they've all just been like huge influences on my career. And just, you go to the most random towns like the one that comes to mind right now is Tom and I did a story on Kenny Gainwell when he was having his final season at Memphis, and he was having a great year, and his brother had overcome like a traumatic, not a brain injury, but he had like a seizure or like a stroke. Like his brother had a stroke at like age 20. And so Tom and I went down to Yazoo County, Mississippi, and met with his brother and his family. And then we drove up to Memphis and shot with Kenny and his head coach and did a story on that. And Tom and the family still texts Tom. And so I texted Tom after the Super Bowl. I was like, oh my gosh, can you believe that like Kenny Gainwell is a Super Bowl champion? Like it's so incredible for him. And he texted me a picture like 2 minutes later. He's like, look at this. And it was Tom and Kenny Gainwell and his two parents on the field with confetti after the Super Bowl. And I'm like, oh, I love it. That's the stuff I love, like seeing these guys succeed and everything.
Yeah. Man, I'm so interested because of the stories. And like you mentioned, those pieces, I mean, I don't know, like most Saturdays we're probably crying in the Galvin household. And I said it again to Caitlin, my wife, this Saturday morning. I'm like, it's just because our boys, we have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, our
Okay.
boys were locked in and they don't really watch like TV. They'll watch kids TV and stuff, but the show has so much depth to it from a fun standpoint with the McAfees, the Corsos, the entertainment, the crowd, the signs, and then also like quickly flips to the serious, quickly flips to the analysis, and then toggling back and forth between all of it throughout the show, which is, I think why there's so many reasons why it's been so successful and so interesting. But even for me personally, like kind of dabbling in the documentary world and that sort of thing, like mini documentaries, which are essentially what your pieces felt like to me. Mini
Mhm.
documentaries, 5 to 10 minute mini docs, which were so powerful. I guess to round it out, and we'll get to Big Sky fans, don't you worry. Is there a story that touched you, like, personally? I mean, you talked about the Gainwell one. Is there another one that kinda comes to mind? Like, "Oh, man, that one had a really lasting impact for me."
Yes, I get asked this question all the time.
Okay.
And I've been asked this question for 5 years as I was at Oklahoma State looking for a new job, interviewing for new jobs. I'm often asked, like, "What's your favorite story you've ever told?" So I've been
Yeah,
and my
yeah.
answer has stayed the same for the last 7 years, I guess, because I did it in 2018. It was with Gene Wojciechowski, and it was on a former or a college football player who had a scholarship to Georgia State, I believe, plays his freshman year at Georgia State and is like, "Mom, I wanna join the Marines." So he goes and he joins the Marines. When he's in the Marines, they're like, "You are this kid's like 6'5", 270. He is a big dude." And they're like, "You are the archetype, the perfect build for a body bearer." And body bearers are the smallest branch of the Marines, and they're the ones responsible for doing the funerals at Arlington National Cemetery. They're training, you have to be handpicked. They're training, if you're in the military, and if you go to basic training for the Army or Marines or Navy, basic training is 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it is. You're the day you're done. If you're a body bearer, you're done when they say you're ready.
Mm,
And their training is just like barbaric. It's in the basement of the Marine barracks in Washington, D.C. They had to do 20 barbell curls with like a 100-pound barbell or something, and then run basically a half mile. Do that 5 times. Then they have to do 20 pull ups. After each set, run a half a mile. Do that 20 times. By the last three, four, like set 3, 4, 5, they're helping each other get the bar up, over the bar. They would carry cement, like the metal trash cans filled with cement, and they'd have to carry them, and their arms would have to be at a certain angle, and they have to be stepping in sync, and they have to be breathing out of their noses. And this kid gave up football and became a body bearer. He did over like 500 funerals at Arlington National Cemetery, and then through some sort of veterans program, ended up at Bloomsburg University, which oddly enough is in central Pennsylvania. And a lot of kids I went to high school with go to Bloomsburg. There's a handful every year that go to Bloomsburg. And he was able to go back and finish his college football career as like a 27-year-old. So that story, it was a Veterans Day piece that we did. The body bearers are, again, one of the smallest branches of the military. They have this hallway in the Marine barracks where like the highest ranking Marines are not allowed in that hallway. That hallway is sanctioned for body bearers only. And they let us in that hallway to film like the walls. And they have everyone who's been a body bearer. And it's the number, they have a plaque of like 600, and that's how many funerals they've done. And it's just one of the most prestigious branches of the military, and that's a story, like, I don't know if anything will ever top that
mm,
story.
mm.
If you
Yeah,
Google body bearers ESPN College Game Day, it'll come up.
yeah. Interesting. Man, so powerful, so many powerful stories too. And that's amazing that you got to work on them. In terms of, now I'm thinking of that transition. So I feel like the word heavy comes to mind. Like, not the heavy work we just did with my son to try to get him to bed, doing bear crawls in our kitchen, but like it it is that in a way, like the work that you did and do in this industry is like it's heavy work, it's time intensive. The editing and figuring out what stays and what goes and what questions we're gonna ask and who we want to interview. Because a lot of times I know it's multiple interviews, but also just like the heavy nature of it. Like it can be very hard and tough stuff that you're dealing with. So was that a part of like, I'm doing something else for a moment? Or like, what do you think shifted you to Oklahoma State after being at ESPN for so long?
So, it wasn't so much the heavy. I don't wanna say I like the heavy, that's weird, but I love the storytelling, I love connecting with people. It was more so there were times that I was put with a reporter who was, and I'm not talking the Jen Lattas, the Tom Rinaldis, the Gene
Yeah, yeah.
Wojciechowski. But there are some reporters that I was put with where I'm like, I'm literally doing everything except tracking this piece. Like I'm writing the questions, writing the story, and like they're basically the face of the piece. And I'm like, well, I'm doing all of the work and they
I
get the
see.
credit.
Yeah, I see.
So I want to switch to on air. And to be quite candid, the reason I took the job at Oklahoma State is because it's one of the places that offered me that did not require like a $20,000 pay cut. So
Yeah. Yep.
that was how that worked out. It just happened to be, I wasn't actively trying to move to Oklahoma. Um, it's just how it happened to work out for that.
Yeah. And now you're in Salt Lake and you're working for the
Mhm.
Big Sky Conference. And
Yes.
similarly to how you described the Oklahoma State role, you're producing and you are on camera. And so
Yes.
uh share with our audience what it's been like. I know it hasn't been long. It's only been a year and a half, but I joke the Big Sky is not the SEC. There are some historic universities, there's some rabid fan bases, then there's also some smaller schools that I won't poke fun at too much. But I think it's an interesting conference from a football standpoint. We like to say it's the premier FCS football conference. So what's it been like working with Tom and the team there? And yeah, how are you enjoying learning about some of these Pocatello domes and some of these schools maybe you weren't an expert in a year and a half ago?
Yeah, no, it's been fun. I love the FCS format for playoffs. Like I wish the FBS could adopt it. It's just a lot harder because I don't even know if they have more teams with if you factor they probably do with the group of 5 and the
Just a little
every
bit, not a ton, I
yeah.
don't think so, you're right.
Yeah, 'cause I'm like, there's like 13 or 12 or 13 FCS conferences. But no, it's been fun. I mean, the hard part last year was I came in the end of May and it's like, okay, we need to, a month later, it's like we're voting for preseason teams. And I'm like, who are these players? Who are these teams? Like, I had some knowledge, but again, they're like throwing like this team to this and this team to this. And then this year, as we're getting ready for our kickoff weekend, I'm like, oh, I know who's who. I know what's what because you're there. And it's going from covering one school at Oklahoma State to then covering 10 to 12 schools depending on the sport. It's a lot, especially in this age of the transfer portal. It's like, okay, well this kid was here last year, you look at Teddy Buchanan and it's like, well he was at UC Davis but now he's not and he's one of the top players but he's not in the conference anymore. And then at this year it's like, okay, Jason Eck took half of, the Big Sky with him down to Mexico. So who are and then the transfers. And so that's the challenging part. But it's so fun watching week 5 of football, but week 6 of games if you count week 0. And we've been in a top 25 matchup every week.
Mhm.
So it's definitely, I mean, it's not the SEC. We don't have 100,000 seat stadiums, but we fill up our 25, 30,000 seat stadiums and those fans are passionate. So I pound for pound, I think it's pretty close.
Yeah, for sure. When you look at, I guess, this year in the Big Sky for the football programs across the Western United States, like, what are you most excited for? Who are you looking at? Like, who do you think's kind of top of the conference? Just give me your overall take on how the Big Sky is shaping up to be as we kick off conference play this weekend.
Yeah, I think it's hard to gauge some teams because of their non-conference schedule. You look at someone like Montana, and they have looked very good. Eli Gilman has been insane. However, they're going against a Central Washington, and then but they do beat North Dakota, who's a top 25 team, and then he looked very good again. 2 touchdowns in the first quarter against Indiana State. Like, I think that Montana has the nucleus to be a very good team. It's just hard to gauge with who they've played. Then you look at UC Davis. Week 0 didn't count. I won't get into that. Then, you play Washington. That's an FBS opponent. No, Oregon, Washington.
Washington,
Sorry,
yeah.
Washington. Yeah, it was Montana State who played Oregon. You go play Washington. Okay, but that's an FBS team that's, consistently higher in the Big Ten. But then they played Southern Utah and they looked very good against Southern Utah. So I'm excited to get into conference play to really put them against each other to see, okay, but to answer your question, I look out for UC Davis. I think they are very good. I think they have the pieces to be a very good program. Montana, Bobby Hauck, winningest coach in the conference. Of course, they're a factor. Montana State, they have the pieces. Hard to replace Tommy Malott, but I think Justin Lamson has looked very tough. And again, Brent Vegan knows how to reload. I'm also high on NAU. I think the Lumberjacks, I think what Brian Wright's doing down in Flagstaff, they are a very good team. Next week, they host Montana State, which could be one of the biggest games of the year in the Big Sky specifically. And then Idaho, like I like Idaho, and they've come within 3 of 2 FBS opponents. I think that Thomas Ford's picked up right where Jason Eck left off, and I have a lot of faith in them.
Yeah, love it. And those are the players. Those are the big name players, and they're big names for a reason. It's the Montana schools. It's UC Davis. People have been high on Northern Arizona, and I think they have looked apart. And then Idaho has been in the top 25. I just saw it today. I think either y'all posted or another publication posted. They've been in the top 25 forever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
41 straight weeks or something crazy. So when we look at, the stories, because you're about the stories, and I am too, your story and the stories of the young fellas in the conference. So you're 3-4 weeks into this now. What stories that you've heard have kind of stood out to you? Maybe a player you've talked to, a coach you've talked to, and are there any stories that you can give us a sneak peek into this week or moving forward that we should know about?
I did I filmed 3 stories at kickoff back in July. So we've been sprinkling them out over the season. Week 1, it was Rex Connors. I don't know if you're the Rex Connors feature, of course. An Aggie, people love him. And just, him returning to UC Davis. And that's been a good one. And then this past week, my story on JT Reed, the offensive lineman from Montana State, who was there in 2020, left after his freshman year, went to JUCO for a year, kept in touch with his offensive line coach, came back to Bozeman, and is now a 6th-year senior, a captain, an integral part of their offensive line. His story is kind of cool. And then I'll have a Sam Batu feature coming out in sometime in the near future, just his journey, how he grew up in a military family. He's from Liberia, moved to Japan when he was 12 or 13, started playing football in Japan, and then moved to California and didn't know what recruiting was when he was a sophomore. He's like, oh, what is this? And now he's, one of the top receivers in the Big Sky. So, and Samuel's just the nicest human if you've ever met him. He's just such a nice guy. So his story's pretty cool. And then, I'm talking to Jacob Syke tomorrow. Sorry, I'm trying to keep all my interviews together.
Nice.
Defensive player of the week this week, or co-defensive player of the week, Harvard transfer. So he's got a great story. I'm trying there are so many stories, and there are others, and I'm just trying to think of, the good ones.
Well, no, those are great. And yeah, like you said, Batu is a amazing player, amazing story. Very nice dude. You're going to enjoy your time with Jacob Syke. We have, I mentioned this offline at the beginning, we're very academic school, very proud of that, always top 5 public university in the country. And something that I've noticed as the whole transfer portal NIL era has its impact on everyone is that we are getting a lot of grad transfers from very good academic institutions. We got Jacob from Harvard, we got Darrell Porter from Dartmouth, we got Cole Bassman from Boston College. It's people get their degree from their really smart 4-year institution, and then they're I want to get a really good master's and continue to play football. And so there's this pipeline that I think this year's really been the start of. And so, yeah, I had a chance to sit down with Jacob too. He's the man. You'll enjoy that. And he's a Texas boy, which is interesting too, because we don't get a lot of that in California. And when I was playing at Davis, it was solely California players. I don't think there was the scholarship dollars when we transitioned to D1 to get an out-of-state guy. But I want to close with kind of some fun stuff, which is, maybe like I don't know, do you get to travel in this role? Are you in
I
Salt
do.
Lake City? Do you work like remote? If that's TMI, you can kick it.
No, you're fine. Our offices are in Farmington, which is like 15 minutes north of Salt Lake. So I live in Salt Lake.
Okay.
And it's a 15-minute commute. It's so easy. But then I travel to not all, but I travel to a lot of different championships. So I think I've been to 6 or 7 of the Big Sky schools, and then I've been to Boise, obviously, for our basketball tournament, and Spokane for our kickoff Hall of Fame weekend. So yes, I do travel. I have hit a bunch of campuses, and I think I'm going to add a couple more to my list this fall.
Okay. Love it. Well, I'm teasing the fun stuff. I didn't want to forget this, which is something that our listeners, like most of our listeners are UC Davis fans, alumni, football players, parents, whatever.
Right.
And so, what do we want to know about? We want to know about us because this is how we are as humans. It's like, tell us what you think of us. And so,
Right.
even before this, I said, "Oh, I'm interviewing." They're like, "Ask her, ask her what she thinks about UC Davis." And so, the question is simply like, I would say from your role too, like, what are the impressions of UC Davis, of the football program, in light of the Big Sky landscape and the FCS football landscape? And I know that you won't comment on this, but I think there's desire on our end, to continue to go to FBS. But yeah, just give us your UC Davis thoughts. It could be one word, one sentence, or soliloquy, whatever you want.
I want to say I have not had a I have not been to UC Davis, so I cannot speak to campus. I have not had a bad experience with like anybody from the Big Sky, so this is not me playing favorites if anybody not from UC Davis listens, but it's a UC Davis podcast, so I'm gonna, talk nice about them. Um, I I love UC Davis. Their SID is awesome. He's so easy to work with. I love Rocco, their AD. He's so nice. Every time I see him, he's like, Meg, how are you? Super nice. Coach Plow, awesome guy. Like, I really like what he's doing. I think that he's a coach that players want to play for. Um, I met Lan last year at kickoff. Again, so nice, so fun to watch. Like, I just think that everyone that I have met there from UC Davis has been like so polite and friendly and easy to work with. And I think that, the Montanas are the powerhouse programs, and the not that UC Davis isn't, but they're the ones, they've been in the national championship the last 2 years. It's the biggest rivalry, arguably one of the biggest rivalries in FCS, the Brawl of the Wild and everything. But I think that UC Davis is kind of that like sneaky under the radar team that just kind of like, we're laying low, we're good. We'll let the Montanas get the attention. And then we're like, here we are, they were top 4 team last year, top 5 team last year in the playoffs. And I think if Lan hadn't gotten hurt in that South Dakota game, there's a very good chance they would have won that game and played in the semifinal. So, I mean, I'm a fan of all Big Sky schools, but I can't say anything bad about Davis because everyone that I've met from there has been incredible.
Love it. And of course, that Lan is on your New England Patriots.
Oh,
So
I know.
you
And
got a
I talked to
jersey yet or
Plow.
what? You
I
gotta
don't. I know.
we
I need
you
to
need to
get
get
a
a Lan
Lan, an
jersey.
Efton, and a
True.
Elijah Ponder jersey. So what's funny is I did a story. I don't know if you saw it during the draft. It was Jackson Slater from SAC, Lan from obviously Davis, and then Efton Chisholm from Eastern
Yep.
Washington.
Houston.
And I was interviewing Jackson, and I was like, "Hey, the Patriots' offensive line is trash. We could use you in New England." And he's like, "Oh, see what I can do." And I interviewed Efton, and I was like, "Efton, Bill Belichick's not there, but you are the Patriots type, a little white
Yeah.
receiver. Like that
Yes.
is New England written all over it. Hello."
Yes.
And he and I were talking, and he's like, I know. He's like, and Lan is like a little Danny Woodhead, Rex
Get
Burkhead.
out
I'm
of
like,
here.
yes, you guys
Get
should
out of
both
here.
go there. And then what happens? They go there. And I like messaged Jackson after, like I messaged all of them congratulating them on getting drafted or getting signed. Jackson's like, thank you, I'm sorry it's not New England. I'm like, I don't care, I'm just happy you got drafted, like whatever, I'll cheer for you except for week 7 when they play. But yeah, no. And so I was so bummed to see that Land got hurt in the preseason, but the fact that he's on IR I think just shows how much they love him there. Which Plow told me that he's like they love him, and I'm like, how could you not? Little workhorse. He's like a little Danny Woodhead, like I said. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's their
They have a
mold.
type. You're right. They have a type.
They do.
It's very
They
clear
do.
what their type is, and they did not derail from it. They stayed true to their feelings, and they got the little Wes
They
Welker
did.
and the little Rex Burkhead. Is it
Yeah.
Burkhead and Danny Woodhead? It's
Yeah.
they're both the Lamb Layersons. Love it. And he even had the 34 like Rex.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got a game on Saturday.
Yes.
We're playing Weber State. We just played Southern Utah, who featured Bronson Barron. 2 years ago, Bronson Barron led Weber State to a 10-win season to the FCS playoffs. Then he had a cup of coffee at Western Kentucky. Then he's back at Southern Utah, who will be in the Big Sky next year. But for now, it's a non-conference game. We took care of business there. Weber State, give us a thought or two. Now we're entering rapid fire, so it doesn't have to be long, but just give us a thought or two for the game on Saturday against Weber State.
I have not watched a ton of Weber State. And again, it's like I said, it's hard. They have, they lost Damon Bankston to New Mexico. One of the guys, Jason Eck, took with him in the Big Sky All-Star team. They lost Richie Munoz. Munoz.
Yep.
I'm thinking Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle. I was like, wait, right? Frankie, no.
Yes.
But yeah, Richie, they lost their quarterback. They lost Jalen Rock, one of their top DBs. So again, the transfer portal, and they've played, they played JMU, which is a FBS program who's done very well since their move up from FCS to FBS. So it's really kind of hard to just sort of like gauge. But I think that Weber State, again, they beat Montana at Montana last year in overtime. They are a team, I think, once you get to conference play, don't sleep on anybody in the Big Sky because any team can win any game. And I think that Weber State's one that you got to keep an eye on because they have won. They did win on Saturday. They have parts. Mickey Mental's still new, still building something there. So, yeah.
Love it. Your preseason, or actually your postseason, I want to say preseason, but it's not preseason anymore, and it's not postseason anymore. Who do you think's going to win Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year? I'm teeing you up for a Davis-centered answer right here.
Well, I feel like right now, Rex Burkhead has been playing very well. Not Burkhead. We were talking about Rex Burkhead. Rex Connors. Oh my gosh. I'm getting all my people.
Yeah.
Rex Connors. I know Rex Connors. Rex Burkhead was on the Patriots and played at Nebraska. I think, when I've watched Davis games, can I call it Davis or is it UC Davis?
No, we like Davis.
Okay.
When we get annoyed with people is if they say Cal Davis.
Okay, no, I would never say that.
We started out of Cal, and it was the farm school for Cal. We don't like to share this necessarily publicly. So it was Cal Davis. And then when UC rebranded everything, it was like UC Merced, UCLA, UC Berkeley, UC Davis. I personally think Cal Davis is pretty cool, but our athletics branding and what we share with the world is it's UC Davis. Davis, fine as well.
Okay. I want to make sure, because I never want to call a school something.
For sure.
People will be like, Okie State, and like no one says Okie State. Like they say OK State, but people don't. So I went, okay. So I think obviously Rex, when you watch UC Davis games, he is everywhere. He's finishing the tackles. He's making the plays. And so he is definitely someone to watch. I think you got to look at Paul Brott from Montana, and Kenneth Iden. He's also, that Montana State. Paul Blott from Montana State, Ken Iden from Montana State, Peyton Wing from Montana. I think you got to look at him. Keon Loud had a big game against North Dakota, and DB for Montana. You gotta look at him. Those are definitely guys that I would keep an eye on. I mean, I'd also, coming into the season, Cam Chappa, true sophomore at Northern Colorado. He was a freshman All-American last year. Northern Colorado has looked.
I know.
considering where they've been, like, don't sleep on Northern
I know.
Colorado to win some games this year in the Big Sky. And Cam Chappa, of course, was a player to watch. So I don't want to sit here and like give hard picks because I represent the conference and I don't want people to think I'm playing favorites. But definitely showing the Aggies some love. Got to give Rex Connors his flowers, and the other players: Peyton Wing, Paul Brott, Cam Chappa. Yeah.
Love it. And you see my guys are showing up, which is fine. Brad and Danny,
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot. We're doing our finish, which is our fast fire questions. So you each need to think of it. I'll ask her one in the meantime, but you each need to think of a fun question for Meghan, who is Miss Big Sky, essentially. And it could be about anything: her job, her favorite food, what Salt Lake City's like, blah, blah, blah. So I will ask this, and then we'll go Brad. No. We'll go Danny, and then we'll go Brad. I'm going to ask favorite Big Sky city you've been to and why.
Favorite Big Sky city I've been to. Okay, I have not been to all of them, but I actually really love Missoula. I think Missoula is so pretty, and they have some really good food there. Um, we had some incredible meals. I was there for the soccer championship last year, and right across from their South Campus Stadium where their soccer team plays is like an awesome like coffee and tap house place. So it's like coffee house by day and um like tap house at night. So they're like beer and like cocktails at night. And so that was really cool. And then I was in Flagstaff for what was I there for? Indoor track. And Flagstaff's so cool. If you've never been to Flagstaff, it's so like Flagstaff's there really is not a bad city in the Big Sky, but Missoula is probably the one that I'm like, yeah.
I don't know about that.
I haven't been.
Yeah, I'm gonna not be politically correct and say I won't say it. Never mind. There's probably some bad cities, but good answer.
Meghan, tell me the best game you've been to, Big Sky atmosphere setup. What was the best kind of matchup game, the whole experience that you've been to?
Okay. So I was at the UC Davis Montana game last year, and that is always fun. I got the fun thing about that for me was that I got to experience it as a fan. I wasn't working the game. It was the same weekend as our soccer championship. So I got to go and like tailgate and hang out and just like enjoy the game as a fan. That being said, I was working sideline. I was a sideline reporter for the Weber State Montana game last year. And that game, I mean, it's an overtime game. Montana's heavily favored. Weber, no one on that team had played at Washington Grizzlies Stadium, so the odds are stacked against the Wildcats. And they go in, and it's like the fourth quarter shootout. There was like a lead change every 2 minutes. That was just unreal.
That's a great answer. Montana is just such an amazing, amazing venue.
Yeah,
it really is.
And Danny is probably wishing he could say that he was at that game too last year, the Davis Montana game. You weren't.
I was at that game, and it was a great game. And my question, if I can jump in, is just so I tailgated in Missoula, which was awesome, and then I've tailgated at NAU, which again, I'm kind of piggybacking on yours. But are there any other tailgate spots, game day atmosphere, and how you rank those?
I have not really gotten to tailgate anywhere else in the Big Sky because if I'm at a game, I'm typically working it, so I don't get to enjoy it. I was at the national championship, and I know that it's not the same, but the Montana State fans showed up and were tailgating. Like that tailgate, it was impressive, just the number of people there. So I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for you.
I was just asking because I know, I try to get teammates together to go on, like pick a road trip game. And I'm trying to think of like the best game day experiences to kind of get us hyped to go on a road trip. So,
okay. Yeah. I mean, I've been to Pocatello not for a tailgate, but to work. And like, have you been to a game at the ICCU Dome?
I haven't, but it's a gorgeous building. Yeah.
It is, and it's just a cool experience. Like the whole, you're in like a bubble, and yeah. So I mean, I can't speak to the tailgate experience there, but the game day experience is just a really cool venue. So
cool.
Well, that's going to be a fun one for us because our former head coach Dan Hawkins retired early to go to Pocatello to be a special advisor, probably assistant coach. I don't know, hang out with his grandkids with Cody Hawkins, who I know you've had a chance to sit down with. So they will come to Davis this year.
Yes.
But Megan, thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed getting to learn your story. And I know our listeners will enjoy it as well. And hopefully we will meet you at the national championship in Nashville, because I'm pretty sure that's the only stop we can make to cross paths. But again, thanks so much for your time and best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you. I have a quick Dan Hawkins story from last year, though, before I go. I was covering Idaho State sideline in the Idaho State Montana State game. My friend Grace Lawrence was covering Montana State. I was covering Idaho State, and I'm on the sideline mid-game, and I'm wearing purple because I'm like, I can't wear orange, I can't wear blue or yellow, got to be neutral. So I'm like, I'm going to wear bright purple. Mid-game, he turns to me, he's like, you had to wear purple of all colors, didn't you? You just had to choose purple because it's Weber State. And I was like, I got to be neutral. He's like, but purple? Come on. This is like literally plays are going on. And I'm like, sorry, coach. You can like see it on the broadcast too. There's like a shot of him because they were talking about how he joined Cody's staff and everything. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, sorry. Like obviously he was joking. He was just giving me a hard time, but that's my story. So can't wear purple. I'm going there in 2 weeks and I will not be wearing purple. I learned my lesson.
Very smart. Very smart. Well, he's a very entertaining human being and fiery about all things, including sideline outfits. But thanks again, Megan. Appreciate your time, and we'll catch up with you.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right. See ya.
Nice meeting you.
Spend homecoming week with the Cal Aggie Alumni Association. Starting on October 8th, CAAA is hosting a variety of events, including the annual Friday Night Social at Sudworth Brewing. Check out all events at alumni.ucdavis.edu/homecoming.
Aggie Pride is proud to partner with JG Graphics in Rancho Cordova, the spot for custom apparel, embroidery, and printing. Aggie alum Pete Povey and his team helped us design and produce our Aggie Pride hats, and the quality is next level. If you need gear for your business, team, or next big event, Pete will take care of you from first idea to final stitch. Support a fellow Aggie and check them out at jg.graphics or visit their shop in Rancho Cordova. The Aggie Football Fund provides essential gap funding for the UC Davis football program, empowering the team to access vital resources for player development and program success. It also reconnects and engages former football alumni to maintain the legacy of Aggie Pride and perpetuity. Through direct and flexible support, the AFF bridges funding gaps while fostering a thriving alumni community. Visit AggieFootballFund.com for more information. We've got a new home for Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. Visit AggiePridePodcast.com. It's the hub for everything. All our episodes, ways to subscribe for early access, and our brand new Aggie Pride classic hats in navy or beige. While you're there, sign up so you never miss an update, and follow us on all our socials for game day content, throwbacks, and behind the scenes. And don't forget, like, follow, and share the pod so we can keep growing the Aggie fan community.
All right. That was an awesome interview with Meghan Robinson. Super interesting. You guys came on late. Meghan worked for College Game Day for a bunch of years, producing like the serious segments, the ones we all cry during.
Oh, wow.
And then was the director of like production and media at Oklahoma State University before taking this role with the conference. So her story's really interesting, and you know, she tells stories. And we were talking before we even started here, like that's the point of kind of everything in life, feels like stories. And so I want to start this. And for those who are not watching, first off, what are you doing? Get on YouTube or subscribe on Spotify so you can see their beautiful faces. Today, of course, I have Daniel Alfaro. He's back in the saddle. He's the people's favorite quarterback at UC Davis. I feel like that's a good kind of mantra for him. He's the people's favorite quarterback. Definitely Dwight Smith, and definitely former tight end, current youth football super fan, maybe coach. We'll find out. And for those who don't know who's here, it's Mr. Brad Bispo. Danny, Brad, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks,
What an
thanks for
introduction.
having us, Brock. Really appreciate it. And just kind of a big shout out to you guys. But this has been a lot of fun going back and listening to the interviews and listening to you guys do your thing. I think it was a big miss before, and I just want to tell you how much I've appreciated all the work you've done and listening to it. So thanks.
Thanks, man. I'm a bit of a psycho with it, but definitely having fun. Actually, Scott Gordon was texting me. He's like, dude, I feel like you're having so much fun with this. And I think that is, I've been reading this book on creativity. I love doing things, right? And basically they're just the message simply is like, just go create stuff that you enjoy. Like, you don't need to try to make money. You don't need to try to worry about being the best or the worst, or if it's like the most beautiful art or the worst art. And like when I created like my little recap video, it's like, I love videography. I love making things, emotional and beautiful, but then I also love football. And so I've been like, I do these two things separately. Like, can I kind of start weaving them together in moments, not all the time? I don't want to cry when I listen to a football podcast all that often, but maybe sometimes. And so that being said, like it's been fun to just try stuff. And I think you guys being on here is like, let's just enjoy the time. And I think the way that we always start, and Dwight's almost back, and this is definitely his segment, is with people's football story. Danny, you got to give like a sliver of yours. Brad, you're gonna get gypped on this too, but give us your football story. People have heard mine, they've heard Danny's. We only have a few minutes for it, sadly, because we got a game to preview, but just share with the folks like how you fell in love with the game and your story in whatever length you want to give us to where you're at today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born and raised in Modesto, California, in the Central Valley here, which is where I somewhat currently reside. I'm in a small town called Oakdale now, which is a little cow town outside Modesto. But I actually grew up going to football games here in Oakdale. My dad was a teacher and coach in Oakdale. When I was about 10 years old, he went over to Downey High School, which is where I played. So grew up around the game. Was it every Friday night, film, practices, etc. Always wanted to play Pop Warner football, and my dad would not let me play Pop Warner football. So didn't start my football career until high school, and then went to Downey. Got recruited by a few schools out of college. Cal and Stanford were kind of the two big ones I was leaning against. Davis had come in and offered me, but Cal and Stanford were waiting. Both shared a guy named Eric Lorig, who went off and played in the NFL for a little while as well. Actually converted to D end after the first year of playing tight end. And so I kind of got to the point where I was like, Davis has wanted me all along. That's where I want to go. And my dad is actually a UC Davis football alumni as well. He played there. Chris Peterson was his quarterback, played with Dan Hawkins as well while he was there. So he knew, he knew Biggs and Morosky and some of the other guys over there as well, Coach Buckley, et cetera. So, I ended up at UC Davis, and, it was a great decision for me at the time. And I can go off of my story at UC Davis for a long, long time, but I was just really glad that it ended up there and it all kind of worked out.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say Oakdale, man, because that is a rabid football town. For those who don't know, I know you do. Like, that is one of the best California high school football environments I've ever seen. I have not been to a game, but in my last company, we would help schools raise money, and they would raise a lot of money because everyone was obsessed with football, and awesome, awesome environment. So interesting to hear you bring that up. But I do want to hear a bit about UC Davis. We crossed paths a little bit, but I know you and Danny shared more time together. So, Danny, you can talk as much ish as you want. Your wife has approved it. What were your impressions upon meeting Brad? And talk to the listeners about just, I don't know, your friendship with Brad and kind of the experience of playing together throughout the years.
So, like we talked about last time, I was a walk-on. So I was I was coming in late. Brad and I are the same class, but he had that fall with the team the year we beat Stanford, which is 20 years, which is crazy, man. Just the fact that 20 years have gone by that fast. But so once I came into winter ball and spring ball, we'd do our morning workouts, and then we'd get together. Like, they do player run practices now, but like back then it was like we'd get on a text thread and we'd all meet up and throw, and it'd be like Brad and Kyle Ike and Jeff Fucci and Connor Kirkpatrick and Luke McDonough and John Grant and Tim Plow, and like we'd get a group together and we'd just run routes and stuff. And so I was just trying to like not screw up, man, and not throw the ball in the dirt. And so what was really cool with like Brad and Ike and Fucci is, you know, through spring and in the fall, like those guys would stay after and like help me get some more routes and throw balls and stuff. And we all really bonded that way. And you know, Brad and I've, you know, our whole career was a lot of fun. And after staying in touch, and, you know, we don't see each other often, but it's like no time has passed. And so it's been really fun. We had some great road trips together. We got to play a lot of fun games. And then we sent you some photos, but like I remember like my game time was running out in the field, and that was probably the last time I put my helmet on and got a little sweat up after warm-ups, and then I was headset on and signaling and stuff. So but Brad and I would lead the guys out the tunnel a lot, and that, so that meant a lot to us, and it was fun, and just that camaraderie of, you know, going into battle and being grinded during the week and practice stuff. Like, I just look back on that fondly, and, you know, we give each other shit, and we'll probably get to that at some point here, but it's, you know, it's a brotherhood for sure.
Yeah, Brad, you're sipping on a nice little old fashioned. The listeners can know about it. It's okay. We're adults here. What comes to mind when you think of Danny Alfaro, QB10, and just like what it was like playing at UC Davis for yourself during those 4 years?
Yeah. A couple of things come to mind. The one thing that I've been kind of reflecting on quite a bit is like how blessed I was to be around the people that I was while I was at Davis. I was trying to explain this to someone the other day, but, you know, when you go and you play football at UC Davis or at any school, you're getting a degree in football. Like you are studying film, you are practicing, you are watching every day's practice, you are studying football. And then on top of that, like the people that we had in those rooms, if you reflect on it, it is really amazing. I mean, Danny is a sharp dude, right? He's an engineer. He's always been a sharp guy. You know, and amongst that, like I came in and Daniel Fells and Aaron Hines and Matt Gravett were the three tight ends. We had Kyle Skierski at tackle. You had Tim Keene at center, who's now at Boise State. You had Demario Warren, who's now at Boise State. Coach Gangarella had a big NFL, you know, did the NFL thing in college football. You had Evero, who also is the D coordinator with the Panthers. You've got Tim Plow. You had John Graham. I mean, I could sit here and name all these guys forever, right? But I think the point is not only were we studying football, you were amongst very, very sharp guys and individuals where, you know, I think that's where my passion for the game and my X's and O's stuff and how much I enjoy that part of it and film watching and all that came from, because you became a student of the game truly. And I think we were very blessed to be around the people that we were. You just had so many great football minds in one room at any given time.
You mentioned studying football, and that was one of my favorite parts of being a football player, is like the mental side of it. And especially growing up, like in youth and high school, you know, we were all better athletically than most kids around us, at least at those levels, right? And then college is another ball game. Like, at least for myself, it was, now I'm no longer top tier athleticism. And so like the mentals got to get even better. And yet I loved it. Like, I lived for it and wanted to coach afterwards and that sort of thing. And then also like want to provide for my family and didn't want to live in Murray, Kentucky, or wherever the hell Murray State is and do those sort of things. For coaches that do that, like, bless their heart. Maybe it's just for certain people and that sort of thing. But Brad, like, you've been coaching, and I know that when you're coaching on top of working and family and all that stuff, like, it's crazy. Like, I guess lead us into Weber State by like talking about how different it's been watching a little bit of film on an FCS school, maybe like slightly faster than share with the folks what you're normally watching film on.
Yeah, so I'm currently coaching my son's 9-year-old football team. And we're provided scout film every week, and we're provided with our own film every week. So you definitely can dive into it a little bit, which I would gladly say I do. But so it's been a lot of fun. Again, I think part of the coaching thing just came about the fact of me reflecting on, I was given what I was given because of my experience at UC Davis, and for me not to give back and try to help out these, young athletes, and it would be really kind of a miss on my part. So I think that's what kind of got me started on it. Coaching my son and his team. It's been a lot of fun for sure. I've learned a ton too about coaching 9-year-olds, by the way. It's a challenge within itself. But yeah, so it's been fun to go back, and I was watching Weber State and kind of getting ready for this weekend. My entire family loves to go to these Davis games. Unfortunately, we don't get to make a ton because he plays football on Saturdays. But this one, we're literally going to get done with this game and head straight up there and head straight back afterwards. So we're gonna make a trip out of it. But he can't wait. He's very, very excited to go. He loves going to the games. And so does my daughter and my wife as well. So we're looking forward to going to the game.
But the fact that Brad Bispo is in charge of teaching youth football to the next generation, without saying, I sure hope they have a quarterback coach that knows what they're talking about, and somebody with a blocking tight end experience, right? Like maybe they're pass catchers, but we need to get somebody in there to teach those kids how to block, and let's hope they have a defensive coordinator. So God bless the children of Oakdale.
Oh, that's good. Okay, first roast, Daniel Alfaro, making fun of Brad Bispo's blocking skills. Mike Cody, who did not catch the ball, maybe like twice in my career, was offensive coordinator. He's the O-line coach. So maybe there is something to what Danny's saying. Like, it's better to know blocking schemes than it is to know routes. I don't know.
Luke McDonough paid me to say that, by the way.
Okay, good. And he was a hybrid guy. So we just had this crazy win, and Danny and I were there, and we were rubbing shoulders, talking about Caden Pinnock every time we passed. Danny's like, you see him sprint up on that Jordan Fisher 75-yard run. Like, it was a crazy environment, crazy game, tons of points, tons of excitement, almost set a school record for rushing. There's a lot to talk about UC Davis, and we will. But just a reminder for folks who haven't listened to the reaction pod, like, we just got a big win. We just had the biggest crowd in UC Davis Health Stadium history. Can someone change the name of it on Google to UC Davis Health Stadium so that when we tag it, it stops saying Aggie Stadium? Just putting it out into the ethers. Danny, you were in charge of Weber State defense, am I right? Okay, so Weber State, really interesting team, historically really defensive when Jay Hill was their coach, and going to Big Sky championships, and tough place to play. I remember Hawk, his second or third year, we go there, we lose 41-3 when we were like pretty decent still, like tough ass team. It feels like they've lost some of the edge the last few years. And when you look at this season already, they play FBS James Madison, get destroyed 45-10. But James Madison was a good FCS team, and they've been good in FBS. They play at Arizona, they get destroyed 48-3. Okay, FBS, we lost by 1 million to Washington. Then they have a barn burner with McNeese State. They give up 41, and they win by 1. And then they play Butler, who I'm pretty sure is in the Pioneer League too, or at least like a crappier FCS league, and they escape 38-24. Maybe not escape. They win soundly 38-24. So Danny, talk to us about this Weber State team, what you're seeing, what you think our offense can exploit, whatever notes you have.
So I listened to Plow's pregame press conference for the Weber State game, and he was saying what you just said, is that in the Jay Hill years they were a really tough team, and that there's still a good coaching staff there. And he said the way he framed it was he didn't feel like Weber State had fallen off so much as the Big Sky has just elevated and gotten better. And having watched through the Hawk era and into the Plow era and the Big Sky, it's such an onslaught week after week, right? And then kind of digging in, I read that Weber State had upset Montana last year, right? And so they're capable of pulling off an upset, right? So we can't sleep on them. So Plow was talking highly of them and their team and their coaching. So I don't see anything or anticipate that we're going to overlook them or look past them, right? So I think they got the right mindset. I think they're taking them seriously, and any given Saturday the team can get on a roll and whatnot. All that being said, I kind of went through the same that you just recapped on. They went James Madison, Arizona, and then I kind of wanted to throw those out just to, those are FBS programs, right? And then dig in and see, okay, how does Davis offense compare to McNeese and Butler? And so what I kind of like came across is that I feel like the McNeese game is probably the most comparable to see how the true test it might be for this coming Saturday. And McNeese ran a lot all through him, right? And we saw it just happen Saturday. So I kind of that's kind of what I'm optimistic about is if we can have a similar ground performance, and they've been susceptible to giving up a lot of rushing, that might be, the game gets easier that way, right? And with Caden showing what he can do with his legs when the passing game breaks down or his first, second, third read is covered, that might be a window there. So that was kind of my initial reaction. And then I kind of dug in on some of the players, and it seems like they have a veteran leader in their safety, Angel King. He leads the team in solo tackles, and he's right up there, number 2, when you add in the assisted tackles. He also leads the team with 2 picks. He's a transfer from Nevada and Colorado State, but he's been there 2 years now, and so it seems like he's a player. And then so I think we got to watch out for him, maybe. And then one of the other guys, their middle linebacker, a guy named Mason Hitchens, he's been there. He's a junior. He leads the team in total tackles. And I don't know, Brad might chuckle at this, but he kind of gave me Mike Morales vibes. Like, he's always around the ball, like always in the play, a lot of, joint tackles, assisted tackles, but like always had a nose for the ball and got to the play. And then they have a returning D line and a transfer kid that had 2 sacks last week. But I just don't know that they're going to have the advantage down in the trenches. Our guys are super experienced, and I think they're our O-line is finding their groove. And so that's kind of like my high level reaction. I didn't really get into the different coverages or whatnot. Just I wanted to see who might be making a difference on D and how they might stack up against the Aggie offense. So that's kind of my initial read on things.
I think the one thing worth pointing out is, and I may be wrong on this, but Weber State historically was known for a lot of Mormon kids that were a little bit older, came back from their mission, etc. I don't even know if they have, as far as the experience. UC Davis is pretty old right now, right? And was last year. But I think that was kind of their niche before, right? They had kids that were more mature, more developed, a little bit older because they went on their mission and came back. So I don't know if they're, still trying to kind of find their new identity and kind of these post-transfer and even the COVID part as well. But that was always the thing. I remember playing them, they'd have like 27, 28-year-old guys on their team, and we were, nowhere close to that. So that could be part of it too.
Yeah. I think it's I did read that they had returners coming back on offense, but I didn't read as much on D, just a couple of those guys. So it seems like, or returners that had a lot of playing time from last year. So I think they're still maybe trying to figure it out on D. So I guess my hope is that they don't figure it out this Saturday. But so far they haven't really shown, that McNeese game was high scoring. And then Butler hung in there, right? It wasn't a dominant defensive performance, right? So I think it sets up real well with how Davis's offense is playing right now.
Yeah. Week to week, things change so quickly. It's funny to hear you say that, how we're playing right now. Cause like at Washington, like we had like 9 yards in the game. And then against Southern Utah, we had like 600 yards. And so you're right. I mean, we looked insane on offense. Like that week off, the rest, plow, dialing some stuff up. And I think a little bit of fire from the O-line, from the running backs to show what they can do. Penix scrambling around. Very fun to watch. Brad, let's turn to you now for the Weber State offense. I would say similarly to what we said with Southern Utah, from the outside in, it feels like a little bit more dynamic when you look at the last 2 weeks, dropping 42 and 38 back-to-back weeks against FCS schools. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I agree. It's, it sounds like this quarterback can run a little bit. And I think 2 out of the 4 games, he was the leading rusher. So he's definitely, gonna look to run. I think the big thing that Davis can really create on Saturday night is turnovers. So he's throwing 9 interceptions, I think, to his 4 touchdowns. How do they create turnovers? And to me, that's what college football has really turned into, is how do you create chaos on defense and create turnovers and take advantage of those? You see so many points these days scored in college football, and you're going to see Plow's offense that's going to score a bunch of points and do a great job of getting up and down the field and controlling the tempo. So really on defense, even if you give up a big play, how do you create a turnover, right? How do you get a fumble? How do you get a sack? How do you really kind of drive that turnover mentality and get the ball back to your offense that's going to score and continue to kind of drive the tempo of the game? So yes, I think the Davis defense is set up for success this weekend. I think they're going to do well against a kind of a quarterback again that's struggled throwing the ball a little bit. I think they've got to maintain the run. They finally had their running back. I think he ran for 193 last game against Butler. So, obviously stopping the run, but then, making them a kind of a passing only team and getting after the quarterback and creating some turnovers. And I see that happening Saturday night. I'm gonna project here that we have 3+ turnovers on Saturday night.
Whoa. I love that. When you're doing your youth football pregame speeches, how many Coach Plow isms are you using?
There's a lot. My pregame speeches are probably a little too intense. I'll give you an example of knowing it's 9-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah, I get into it for sure. We had one I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was tied at halftime, 0-0. Not a lot of scoring going on. I was telling the guys, I was like, we got to step it up. It's 105 degrees out there and it's hot there, And so I'm getting into it and I'm like, hey, we got to go. This is, we got to give it everything we got. This is why we've been working for the last 5-6 weeks. And I get a hand raise and the little 9-year-old says, hey, coach, you think we can wear our jerseys to school next week? Okay. So it really, gives you a little reflection on where their mindset's at. And, I probably should tone it back a little bit here and there, but they're a great group of kids. It's been fun. You got to realize where their heads at sometimes,
Oh, that's so good. I just wondered, like, all of a sudden I had a Brad Bispo pregame speech and it was about what I expected, pretty intense. And you probably say find joy. You might say find joy after he says that. Like, hey, would that give you joy wearing your jersey to school next week? Danny, I'm wondering from you, now shifting like UC Davis stuff. I'm wondering kind of what your thoughts are on Caden Pennant and the quarterback play. We've had 4 games, and I said last week on the pod, it felt like almost like this last Saturday against Southern Utah was the start of a new season. But Caden had this crazy arrival in the first half of the Mercer game, which is on ESPN. So everyone is like, this guy's insane. And then I would say, like, it's not like a smooth ride since then, but we see all of his talent. So yeah, what have you made of his first quarter of the season, and what do you think of his play last weekend?
I've still been crazy impressed by the kid. So that hasn't wavered at all. I know there's bumps and bruises, and he's young, and I think they're still figuring out the headset communication, right? That might have a dynamic there. But this week, I thought we started great, right? Like, that's kind of the way you want to script the first couple drives. And I thought we were going to run away with it. That was my initial impression. I was like, here we go. Like, we're rolling, right? And then, two straight 3-and-out punts, or it might not have been 3 out, but 2 punts in a row, and they come back and tied up 14, right? And so fast forward to the end of the game real quick, and we put 50 up, and you think, okay, that's the high-powered Davis offense. But I think the way Plow thinks, and the way Paul Shelton thinks, and the way the offensive staff thinks is like, there's a lot of room for improvement from that game. Even though we played a good game, there's so much to take and go, like, take it to the next level, right? And I don't think Plow's ever going to rest and say, hey, we're good now, right? He's going to he wants to see like a flawless game every time, and he's going to hold Caden to that high standard, right? And Caden hold himself to that high standard of, like, we got to prepare better. We got to go, not leave points out there. We got to not leave our D hanging at times, right? And so they're going to come up with a game plan for this week to exploit the weaknesses of Weber State. But I think even though 50 points and it was a fun game, it was like 22-20 at half, right? So it wasn't it was still kind of like, all right, we're still just kind of getting there. And then, it was good to see a good second half with Jordan Fisher, breaking out with, 12 seconds into the second half and whatnot. But Caden, I have high hopes for him still. He does something like a few times a game that's like, holy crap. And I was fired up about him catching up to Jordan Fisher is a blazer, man. He's fast. And Caden like caught up to him and got a block, probably got him 8 extra yards. So that I was so fired up. I'm, chest bumping Bakari watching that. But the rest of the offense, I think, to transition a little bit, I was fired up to see Winston get a touchdown catch, and I haven't heard officially about how if he got hurt, but hoping he is okay, and if he's out for the season, like I've seen him kind of be a leader, like that tight end room feels like a leadership part of the team, and so the team will rally around him, and he'll be able to still impact the team by giving the team some wisdom that he's gotten over his years. And so it was cool to see that Mitch Dixon touchdown, right? That was a cool play. The way Caden moves in the pocket is really fun to watch, right? Because he'll like turn and dodge, but then keep his eyes upfield. And that play was interesting because he dinked it down to Mitch, and Mitch just powered through into the end zone, right? So that was fun to watch because the running backs were just awesome, right? There's not much more you could say other than like wow with them. I thought it was cool that end around with Zach Jones too. Like we talked about him after the Southern Utah game. So I've continued to be kind of surprised by new guys contributing and seeing how each game takes shape and who might step up that week. So I think with how we all expect a high-powered Tim Plow offense, and like I was saying, Coach Shelton has those guys dialed in the QB room. But I think there's room to grow there. And I think comparing back to last season, maybe where they had the step back in the Portland State game or the close call, right? Like I hope what I want to see them is just put their foot on the gas pedal and go and continue to like elevate through the season and like get better each and every week and take it 2 teams and just blaze through everybody, man. So I'm fired up, as you can tell, but there's a lot to be happy about with the Aggie offense for sure.
I think there's one thing too you got to call out about Caden Pinnick is that it's not going to become easier for him in these first few games. People are going to start to get film on him. They're going to figure out his tendencies. He started off with a good game, and I think we got to realize he's young, right? He's really, really young, and he's going to figure out, what he needs to do to get better, and I'm sure he's going to get better every week. I was talking to Alf about this before, but I think this game really sets him up for a big game. Weber State likes to bring some pressure. They run a lot of man-to-man pressures with his legs and kind of his capabilities. I think he could have kind of a breakout game. But again, as a young quarterback, I would say as these teams continue to get more and more film on him, it's going to become harder too, right? So he's going to have to continue to elevate his game as well as people start to figure out what he likes to do or doesn't like to do as they're kind of analyzing the film.
Yeah, the other thing that comes to mind, especially when you're talking about Zach Jones at receiver, and then obviously the running backs being awesome, is speed. Caden Pinnick, it's speed. And it's funny because every week you can vacillate between thinking a team in any level of football, even the 9-year-old Bispos. You think they're great one week, you think they suck the next week. It could be the Niners or the Ags or the Bispos. And the reality is, I think we say things like, this is the best O-line ever, or this is the most athletic quarterback ever we've had. Well, my impulsive nature wants to be like, this is the fastest team we've ever had, because I look at the receiver position and I've joked about them being short, but who cares? They're hella fast. All of them, hella fast. Stacey Dobbins, Zach Jones, Sam Batu, the running backs, Carter Vargas, Jordan Fisher, the quarterback. And so speed is the thing that stands out to me. But I think we should talk about the tight ends because we have Mr. Brad here. And I walked past the tent when Winston was hurt, and it didn't look great, but we don't know anything official yet. But I would be very shocked if he's playing on Saturday. And yet Mitch Dixon steps up, and he's actually flashed multiple times throughout the beginning stages of the season, especially when he's getting the ball in his hands. Like, very powerful runner after he makes the catch. But Ian Simpson's no slouch either. So, Brad, what have you seen from like the tight end room? Do you think of like moments when an injury happens and like times in your career where you've had to like overcome that and that sort of thing? Just wanted to hear your thoughts on that room since you're so familiar with it.
Real quick. Mitch Dixon, converted quarterback. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh boy.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, my thoughts go to Winston. It's not fun getting hurt, obviously, and going through that. I would say probably one of the more mentally challenging years I've ever had. I think it was week 2, Portland State. I broke my leg and ankle, and was out for a year. It was a tough year post injury. Felt like I was in the best shape I had ever been in my life. Was ready to go, ready to compete, and then to have something like that happen, it's tough. It's really tough. And so, hopefully it's not season injuring or season ending. I'm sorry. And hopefully he's able to bounce back. But if he is, I'm definitely thinking about him, and hopefully the guys, to Danny's point, rally around him, because mentally that can be very, very challenging to go through that, especially when you've had such high hopes for a big time player like he is coming into the year. So definitely thinking about him. I do know that the tight ends have been kind of called out and challenged by Coach Pla. I've heard that I think there's a lot of high expectations coming into the year from them. It sounds like they accepted that challenge and played better last weekend. I'm sure they'll continue to rally around him too, especially if this injury is something serious, and hopefully continue to elevate their game, as it's always a big part of the offense, probably the biggest part of the offense, if we're going to be truthful here, to get those tight ends involved and knowing what all the things they bring to the table when they're rocking and rolling really just makes the team better. And I know we talked a little bit about, you talked a little bit about the receivers being on the smaller end. So really the tight ends can be kind of the bigger target in those goal line situations, right? In the red zone situations. So
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see a lot more from that tight end room as we get going through the season, and continue to develop those guys and get the playing to their full potential.
Yeah, I love how impartial we are in all this analysis, and the position groups totally makes sense. Okay, 2 things I want you guys to think about before we close. Your keys to the game and your Buckhorn Grill score predictions. Because looking ahead to this Saturday's game, sponsored by BPM&J and our boy Scott Judson, you guys can share a Scott Judson story if you have one here in a second. But we're getting old, so you got to figure out your future, and you need to plan responsibly for your family, and that's what Scott and his team are going to help you do. So it's back-to-back home games, and I will just start with this. Historically, the first home game is a large crowd. The second home game is not as large of a crowd. I think that's safe to say that's probably going to happen. I mean, we're probably not going to jam 17,000 people in there again. But I am looking ahead to this Saturday thinking, like, how many people are going to show up? Like, I thought it was a pretty freaking phenomenal night. Like, if I'm a student there, they seem like they were having fun. If I'm an alum there, seems like they were having fun. If I hung out with a buddy who lives in Davis and just went to the school but is not a football alum or anything, and he's like there with his kids having a blast in the end zone, it was perfect. It's a great place to be. Like, the whole Bispo fam's going to be there. My kids are a little too young, but when I'm coaching my 9-year-old kid, then we'll come too for the night games. But I will just start with I really hope the Aggie faithful and those listening and those who are like, I went last week or all this, like, just come on back. Come on back. Like, it was an awesome night. Like, we need to keep doing this thing. So the Champions Drive was last week. For those who gave, awesome. You can still buy season tickets, buy tickets to the game, donate in other ways, serve in other ways. So there's a lot there. Getting into now the keys of the game. I will start with 2. The one area, and I'm always real on this, that I saw for improvement last week the most was the run defense, I would say. And I mentioned this on the reaction pod, a little surprising given the history of Coach Coombs and the defensive unit and how strong they've been against the run. It's kind of a weird, I wouldn't say double-edged sword, but we also have not rushed the passer as well as we have this year historically. So like it comes with both. Like our offense is scoring a bunch. They're going hella fast. Maybe we're a little more winded, but we're getting after it when we're going after the quarterback. Jacob Sack-Syke had a couple. Sam Golgowski had a couple. Trent Carrad. Like that does not happen. So I love what happened up front against the pass. I think the call this week, maybe similarly to how Coach Plow challenged the tight ends, is Coach Coombs and Coach Brady challenging the D line and the entire unit, because we know it's Nate and Porter and the DBs too. Like we need to be sound against the run, because all the points and all the fun and all the California hot weather games will not work in November, December. And no one wants like, the first round exit or ever. Like people are trying to elevate this program. And so that's the big one for me, is rush defense. Danny, we'll go to you. What is maybe a key or two for Saturday that you looking out for?
I think it would be, cleaning up those things that led to some punts, led to some short drives, and hopefully they can start fast and just keep that momentum going. And I think I've really liked the well-roundedness of the offense, like the fact that we got a really good running attack. We got some playmakers like you talked about out on the outside. We got some possession guys, the tight ends, right? And so I think we have a lot of weapons, and I'd like to just see kind of like a complete game, right? And I'd pick this week, right? And then, as far as score prediction, I'd hope it'd be like 42-14, no field goals, just all touchdowns, and we're putting in the backups and getting guys some home field run, right? Like that's what I did. I hope we ran it up so that I could get in the game and maybe throw Bispo a pass, right? So that's kind of that's what I would hope for, and get those guys in the game, get their stat line up a little bit.
Love it.
Yeah, I think you guys hit on some really important stuff. I'm going to say win that turnover battle. I want to be +3 on that turnover battle. That's what I'm looking for the Aggies to do on Saturday night. Again, I'm looking for Caden Pinnock to have a breakout game. I think that the defense is going to give up a couple maybe big plays, a couple explosives, but I think they're going to get the turnovers that's really going to make the difference in the game. And I'm looking forward to watching that. If I had to come to a final score prediction, I'm going to say 42-14 UC Davis. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to say the same thing.
Whoa, yeah, good job.
I'm going to go 49-21 UC Davis.
I missed it. What was it?
49-21 UC Davis.
Oh my gosh, dude. And I am not kidding. Last week I chose 49-24. And I'm thinking like 10 minutes ago about this. And I go, you know what? 49 is the right number. I think our defense is going to be better than last week. We're not going to give up 30. I'm going to go 49-21. I'm dead serious. I will change it because of rules and stuff. And I'll go like 49-17 or something, because I think the defense is not going to get caught like that again. The second half adjustments were nice. I was pissed when Southern Utah converted on a 4th down on that last possession and scored to make it look a little bit closer than it even was. But yeah, I think there's a lot of pride in that group. Even Coach Plow, like he's calling a timeout on that last possession, like trying to get those guys some wins. Like, do not give up this touchdown. And I was telling Nick King, I was like, dude, we have to win some games impressively, because we are at a disadvantage, I think, in having played one less FCS Division I game. So, in looking ahead, like the schedule looked easier at the beginning of the year than it does now. And like the time that I spent with Meghan Robinson, she even shared Northern Colorado looks good. Northern Colorado should have beat Colorado State. Idaho has lost to 2 FBS opponents by 3 points each time. Montana State is Montana State. Sac State, who cares? But they do have 1 trillion athletes, and it is the last causeway, and they are going to come and try to ruin it. Yeah, and then NAU. And then Idaho State with the Hawkins. Yeah. Like that is,
it's brutal.
None
That's
of
what
that
we were
is
talking
easy.
about earlier, just like the Big Sky, it's a gauntlet, right? So that you got to take care of business each and every week, and you can't look past any teams. And so, I'm really hopeful that, there's no Portland State from last season type of type of letdown or close call or whatever. So, but yeah, and I'm fired up. But yeah, bring on the big sky. Let's go get him. If we want to hang and we want to get to that top level and we want to be consistently like getting that automatic bid and then going deep, like we're not afraid of anybody. Let's go get him.
Yeah. Well, Danny, congrats on I think it's the Bay FC training facility that your company's doing. That looked pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
And Brad, good luck on Saturday.
It was really cool.
Yeah. To give you guys the last word, Brad, I'm hoping you can give us like 30 seconds of your pregame speech and then maybe a last word for the pod people. And then Danny will turn it to you.
I think I might want to spend my time reflecting on Alfaro's outfit right now. It looks like he's got a gray half shirt on, the old school gray half shirts. I'm glad that the bottom part is cut off so we don't have to see if it's a gray half shirt.
We don't know that, Brad.
But it kind of reminds me of the good old days there in the gray half shirts.
You know, I was admiring the aesthetic a little bit. I think the half shirt jerseys is coming back, right? Like the Bosworth days and stuff like that. Porter Connors has a like unbelievable look, right? And in practice, that was my look, right? And I'm not gonna spoil it for anybody. Like you guys can, use your imagination if it's a half shirt or if it's a full shirt. But
I'm gonna tell you right now, your look did not look like Porter Connors. Well, let's just make sure we make that clear.
All right. It's all right. Well, that was a long time ago. Memories fade, Brad. Don't worry. Memories fade.
Oh man. All right, that's a good way to.
Yeah, as far as the pregame speech, who knows? We'll have to see which flowers the kids are picking, or what is going on. I'll tell you that I figured out that I can't use the numbers 6 and 7 together because I immediately get laughter from any of the kids, and that has also happened to me. So the whole 6-7 thing is real, and I've learned that the hard way.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's like the Lamar Ball TikTok, I think, that took off, and all the kids, anytime you say the numbers 6 and 7 together, they start cracking up and they do this little thing with their hands. You'll have to look it up, but it's out of control is what it is.
All right. I'll take your word for it.
Yep. The things you learn by being a youth football coach,
Yeah. All right. Danny, do you have any final words for the people?
It's always special to be in Davis, and so I know you had a great time. Your video was beautiful, like the artsiness of it. I think that's great. I think the program has had some good videographers, and their social game has been better. I really enjoy all that. And then, but what's special to me was like Bakari and I road tripped up there, and I love watching football with Bakari and get to hang out with him and his family. But seeing Coach Biggs and Coach Bronson and Christine Plow and the whole crew, Dave Holtman, and just kind of being around all our people, right? And it's just always fun. And like you walk around the stadium, you say hi, like stop at Marshall's tailgate, saw James Amos, Jordan Glass, got to say hi to Kyle Ike and Scott Judson. So it's just like it's always fun to be on campus. And I agree with you. I hope we can keep the energy and the crowds and just like the keep it rolling, man, and just all the way through the season, like get better and better.
Well, it feels like that's almost the last pillar left. Is really maintaining that atmosphere, right? How do we maintain that atmosphere? And I know Plow talks a lot about that. But yeah, to your guys' point, I'd love to see that. I can't wait to get out to the game Saturday night, see everybody, get a little tailgating in, say hi to everyone, and see Aggie Stadium rocking and rolling. So I'm really excited to get out there and see you too, and get my Aggie Pride hat too.
That's right. It's funny you say Christine Plow. And
Christine, yeah.
I am younger than y'all. I never met her. And so I actually got to meet her pregame, gave her some hats for the boys, of course. And she was like, oh, that voice. When you listen to someone on a podcast and then you see them, you're like, which was kind of a hilarious moment for me. But also I'm like, okay, Coach Plow's wife knows the pod. Like, this is legit. But even you're saying David Holtman and the rest of the guys, that's what everyone wants. That's what Christine wants. That's what David Holtman wants. That's what you want. We all want it to not be lame. So the only way to not make it lame is just to show up and bring all this stuff and have a good time and be there, because it's lame when there's no one there. It's lame when there's not a party. It's like a party with no people show up. So let's make sure it's a fun party. Fun parties are full parties. And that's what we expect again on Saturday. So thank you guys both for hanging out. Appreciate it. Good to have a little bit of the banter and your expert opinions, especially from the Coach Bispo over there. But looking forward to catching up down the road. And thanks again for doing this.
We kept it civil, man, but round 2 might get uglier. Who knows?
Hey, really appreciate you guys again, Brock, everything you guys are doing. So thanks for having us and really looking forward to continue to listen to this too. Following you guys.
Cool. Thanks, man. And that's a wrap. Big thank you to Brad Bispo and Daniel Alfaro, and of course, Meghan Robinson for hopping on the pod this week. A reminder that you can follow us on social media at Instagram or X. It's $5 a month to subscribe for early access to the episodes and exclusive bonus episodes. And you can go to AggiePridePodcast.com to check all the latest episodes and news about the podcast and football program. And of course, our hats are for sale there in blue or beige. Hope to see everyone at UC Davis Health Stadium on Saturday, 7 p.m. against the Weber State Wildcats. Go Eggs.